Hi, my intuitive eating and intuitive eating dietitian and coach friends. This is Tracy Brown. I thought I would do a little series, and depending how this goes, this actually might turn into a little bit of a podcast kind of thing. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I thought I would talk this week around, like, I guess, at least 10 videos, maybe longer, around the topic of the intuitive eating principles. So I'm going to give you a little backstory about me really quick so you can know where I come from and stand on those, and then we'll jump right in. So, I learned kind of an intuitive eating-ish kind of thing for myself when I was in my own recovery, but there wasn't the book. I think the book came out, I was a couple years into recovery, but again, this was the having access to a lot of what is out there, internet time. So it's like, I think the first version was written in maybe in 90, I don't know if it's 95, 98, I don't remember. I started my recovery in 96, so I didn't even actually read the book. I knew of the book, but I didn't actually read the book until I was practicing in the community outpatient eating disorder dietitian. I read it as a reference point, but I was already kind of teaching basically doing hunger fullness work before there was actual, like, here are the principles. So the way I learned how to teach that to people was a little different. I love the idea of having the principles, and I now know that, like, you can do a whole certification of learning how to teach the principles and coach this work, which I think is awesome. But something I've seen that like dietitians newer and coaches newer to, like, say you have your intuitive eating certification and you've done all the the program, and you've even done some of the supervision through that program. What I notice is that there's still some work that, of course, I mean, we're always learning, so I don't think that any one program can cover everything. That's probably not possible. So my arm's getting tired. But I want to talk to you about how are we going to use these principles in our coaching and counseling sessions with a little bit more flow and ease versus like 1, 2, 3, 10 kind of thing. And so I want to talk today just about principle number 1 and how you can unpack that more deeply with and for your clients. That way it kind of goes, you're not going to work with clients that it is going to go through this like really smooth series like, oh, what do you want? And do principle 1 and I've got it and I'm okay. Every one of these principles that's out there, it's almost like you're going to weave them in and out of all your sessions throughout the time, whether you work with people 4 sessions, 10 sessions, 2 years, 10 years, whatever. So let's just jump into principle number 1, which is reject the diet mentality. So that's the one that's going to continue throughout the course of all of your clients' work. So now if you work with a lot of people with eating disorders, I mean, that's restricting and or binging and purging is something that's going to be a strategy throughout the course of their recovery. Only until towards the very end are you going to see people like not want to go back there. They're just not going to want to go back to it anymore. They might have thoughts of doing it, but they don't want to go back. But it may take months. I mean, I honestly don't see most people who have disordered eating or eating disorders want to go back to their eating disorder. Minimally a year, and sometimes it's on and off throughout the course of a lot of years, depending on honestly a client's trauma history. Now I work with clients many years, like not always every week for years and years and years, but on and off throughout the years of like doing some work, taking a break, coming back, like living some life, maybe doing treatment, coming back, whatever. And there's a few times where people like, I like my eating disorder, I like the restriction, I like the numbness. So they mentally might know reject that diet mentality, but they're not going to be able to do it maybe for a long time until they've built a lot. Their attachment system is good and like starting to really work and alive, and this is deeper training. But sometimes they cannot get to the idea of like rejecting the diet mentality. They don't want to do that because the body internally feels like such a dangerous place to be. It's like, why would I let go of that? So that's not there. But for a lot of people who come to you for coaching, they want to break free from dieting. They might have what I would consider a milder case or form of some disordered eating or chronic dieting, but they have more stability and safety in their systems. They're going to be able to reject the diet mentality a lot easier. So if you're working with people and they come to you, I'll be honest, I think it's quite rare that you're going to get somebody that can like, boom, oh, I got it. I'm going to not diet ever again. I'm lucky to get a client like that once a year. If, it's not common for a person to like, after 4 sessions, they don't feel like restricting again, or 10 or whatever. Or they don't go to that as an option in their mind. Like the thinking is kind of gone. So this is a principle that you're going to work on probably in some little way every session. So you might, the first session you meet a person, I personally don't even talk about it that much, like reject the diet mentality. I only educate the first session usually on how their current intake is impacting their life and what another solution could be, which is getting renourished, and there's a process called intuitive eating. I might not go more deeply into that, but the first thing maybe we're going to do this session is, here are the side effects, the pros and cons possibly of both, of either continuing to diet, which causes certain symptoms, or not, which is scary, but we have tools to work with that. And here's one of them, which is the idea that the diet is actually helping you. That first principle is really going to be woven into those first several of how like it hasn't really gotten us what we want, but let's look at it more deeply. Maybe how has it helped you, and here are some other possibilities, or here's some other strategies or solutions. So that's how I use the first the first thing is reject the diet mentality. It's more of an idea I use over the course of the first several sessions to kind of paint this broader picture of, yes, it did once help you, and of course it's something that we have used as a way of being more a part of the bigger collective of being acceptable, and that's all we've ever been presented with. But what if it is something that's also hurt you deeply? And that's a better way I have found to help people want to naturally reject that the diet mentality, is to teach about how it hasn't worked and what's possible and what we could also try and experiment with. So you're going to be weaving that through many of your first sessions. So just something to think about. And I would love to hear from you all how you've used this first principle in like your first sessions. Do you just put it out there the first session? Do you, if you're a coach that doesn't do a lot of, I don't really talk about the food, I just do body image work, or I do more fitness things. How do you introduce this first principle? I would love to hear about that, and I think it would be a really good discussion for how in different circumstances we can continue to weave in this first principle. So I hope you enjoyed this unpacking video. If you have other comments, please put it below. I'd love to hear about it, how you're using it, what I possibly plan to do with these discussions is take it to a part 2 and a little bit more deep, and we might be doing that on another platform. I'm not sure yet, but it's something that kind of getting really clear about, and I would love possibly to have even some volunteers to work on unpacking that with. So be curious if you're interested in being kind of volunteer in some of my role-playing sessions that I think I'm going to create over the course of the next several months. So we can not only just talk about like theories and strategies of doing non-diet work, but also what it looks like and how to embody it and what it feels like, because I think that's how we learn. At least I learn the best by doing. Reading, I get it. I can read principles and read theories and things, and sometimes things can be written just as I need it, but for the most part, when we're talking about being in the trenches, which is the kind of dietitian and coach I am, is I learn by doing, and so I want to help you all do that too, if that's something that feels like that's the piece you're missing. So let me know. Tell me more about it below, and I will be going to Principle 2 tomorrow. Take care.